Coming to you live from the TV10 News Center right here in Kigali, Rwanda. Welcome to your news in English with me, George Ndurango. Let's take a look at some of the news making headlines today. Ingabire Victoire Umuhoza finally sentenced to 15 years in prison. The last send-off, Rwandans come together for a final memorial service for the late Nelson Madiba Mandela. And a proud moment for TV10 as journalists Genevieve Ndaishimie and Jerome Munyentwali awarded by the Media High Council for outstanding work. Well, here's hoping that your day is going well so far. Let's take a look at some of the news today. Now, top government officials, diplomats and Rwandans gathered today at the Regina Parish Church, Remera, right here in Kigali to pay their tributes to the late Nelson Madiba Mandela. The ceremony saw different religious leaders lead the prayers, thanksgiving and well wishes for the African icon. Fiona Mbabazi kicks off tonight's bulletin with that story.
The young, the old and people from all walks of life braved the cold and chilly weather this afternoon to gather at Regina Parish Church, Remera, to celebrate the life of late Nelson Madiba Mandela. South Africa's ambassador to Rwanda, Mr. George Twala, hailed Rwanda for being close to their country in this time of need.
In shorty and shorty, as we leave this memorial service, I am sure we will still hear much more from eloquent scholars and academics who would be extolling the virtues of Mandela. But all I ask of each one of us, whether individually or as collectives, can we kindly contemplate how we jointly can contribute to the realization of what Madiba held most dear? Our children.
Rwanda's Foreign Affairs Minister Louise Mushikiwabo described the late Mandela as a good friend of Rwanda and called upon everyone to try and emulate Madiba's strong qualities.
It's of special meaning to Rwanda, remembering Nelson Mandela as a leader who distinguished himself by being both a uniting figure for his country, but also a man who stood for so many of the qualities Rwandans appreciate in leadership, that is caring for the people, uniting people after very tragic history we share with the South Africans, the people of South Africa, a history of rebirth of a country, in this country, in Rwanda, after genocide, and in South Africa after apartheid. And incidentally, it is in 1994 when President Mandela was being released from prison that genocide was raging here in this country. So that created a special bond between our two countries, and we as a government and of course a number of Rwandans, ordinary people from this community here, this church in Remera, and Rwandans who worked or lived or went to school in South Africa all gathered here to pause and remember a great African.
All those who took to stage spoke of the late Mandela's ability to forgive and love even in the most uncommon circumstances, echoing his statement that read, "No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin, or his background, or his religion. People learn to hate. They can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite." For TV10, I'm Fiona Mbabazi.
Well, thank you, Fiona. In related news, President Paul Kagame is in South Africa today to pay his last respects to the departed icon. According to the president's office, Kagame will bid farewell to the man he eulogized as, I quote, a moral exemplar, inspirational figure, and an unwavering fighter for freedom at the Union Building in Pretoria, where Mandela's body lies in state. Earlier this week, President Kagame ordered that the Rwandan flag flies at half-mast for 5 days from Tuesday through till Sunday, when the 1993 Nobel Peace Prize laureate will be laid to rest in his ancestral home of Kunu in Eastern Cape Province. We move over to other stories, legal matters now. The Rwandan High Court today sentenced Madame Ingabire Victoire Umuhoza to 15 years in prison. This was after she was found guilty of numerous crimes, including, among others, genocide negligence and public inciting with intended hate speech. Mary Murerwa and Jerome Munyentwali have that story.
Getting out of the High Court room after the reading of her case, Madame Ingabire Victoire Umuhoza showed that she was not content with the 15-year imprisonment punishment that she had just received. We are going on with the fighting. Do not be afraid, because time and history is on our side. That means that we are continuing with the fight, and we shall continue fighting for the truth. This case with her co-accused, who are Major Vitali Umuremyi, Lieutenant Colonel Habiyaremye Noel, Lieutenant Colonel Tarsis Nditurende, and Captain Karuta Jean-Marie Vianney, was attended by many people who were all curious to know the final ruling of the High Court. However, Lieutenant Colonel Habiyaremye Noel, Lieutenant Colonel Tarsis Nditurende, and Captain Karuta Jean-Marie Vianney finished their punishments. Madame Ingabire was sentenced to 15-year imprisonment after the High Court did not consider her appeal. In her appeal, she said that the High Court did not grant equal rights to both sides before the law. The High Court finally ruled that the testifier, who was named as AA, who contended that the government of Rwanda sent people in Mutobo Integration Center to talk to Vitali Umuremyi, who was called PPU then, with a name of teaching him how he will testify against Madame Ingabire. After verifying this testimony, the High Court didn't consider it. According to the High Court, it was found that Ingabire Victoire traveled to Kinshasa to meet the FDLR rebels in order to start an army group, which would be a branch of FDU in Nyingi. Verifying the crime after crime, the High Court found that Ingabire Victoire was guilty of genocide negligence because during her speech at the Kigali Memorial Center, she said that there was double genocide. According to the High Court, she was supposed to be sentenced to 27 years imprisonment, while the prosecution wanted her to be punished with 25-year imprisonment. However, the court decided to sentence her to 15-year imprisonment as a result of the many and mixed crimes that she committed. Some of her co-accused were convicted of the crime of starting a new army group and were given the punishment by the High Court. Apart from Major Vitali Umuremyi, the rest finished their punishments. Immediately after the ruling, the prosecution was happy for the punishment given to Madame Ingabire.
We are happy with the court's decision, especially because the High Court put into consideration our desire to consider spreading rumors in Victoire Ingabire's case. The court had turned us down because they believed it would be given value if it had had some impact. We revised the law and found out that it didn't say that there must be an impact for the victim to be convicted. When some people spread rumors, they have intentions of creating confusion or conflict in the country. We are happy that the court has corrected that so that it doesn't reoccur in future in our courts.
The administration of FDU in Nyingi, the party which is not yet registered and owned by Madame Ingabire, contend that this case was political.
Nurubanza mu byukuri uko ruciwe rubabaje ariko rutanatangaje kurikije uko ubutegetsi bwa FPR Inkotanyi busanzwe bukora mu kugerageza gufungwa.
The court's decision on this case is sad but not surprising, basing on how RPF usually works, imprisoning anyone who is their political opponent. In reality, it's a sentence that should not discourage anyone because politics is hard to master, especially in countries like these where citizens are led dictatively and being a political adversary is considered enmity. We have started democracy propaganda in Rwanda to help citizens become free.
A cross-section of residents that we talked to who had turned up for the hearing of Ingabire's case have different perspectives. Madame Ingabire Victoire Umuhoza has been in prison since 2010, and the High Court had sentenced her to 8 years imprisonment, and she appealed. But finally, the High Court sentenced her to 15-year imprisonment.
Just a slight correction there. It was the Supreme Court and not the High Court. I had made a slight error. It is the Supreme Court and not the High Court. Over to some matters that really created a lot of happiness inside the studio. The Media High Council and Rwanda Governance Board yesterday partnered to award journalists within the country with outstanding programs and stories. Some journalists, however, expressed concerns that the way the awarding was done was not entirely transparent. They say that the fact that the civil society does not participate in choosing stories and programs create prejudice and bias. We have the details.
For the second time in a row, this Thursday, the annual awarding of the best programs and stories by the journalists hyped up the occasion. The winners in different categories couldn't help but express their happiness.
It's exciting to win the Journalist of the Year 2013 award among thousands of journalists. I'm so happy.
Despite the excitement since the birth of this event in 2012, some of the journalists have expressed concerns and bias of how the winners are chosen. As seen this Thursday, the public showed gestures of disagreement when some journalists were called up to be awarded while others were rather praised. The journalists expressed different reasons for the reaction. Telling me that some journalist who made a story on one woman gets an award, yet a journalist who made a story on more than 500 people does not necessarily mean they are wrong. But the panel of judges probably lacks some understanding of awarding these prizes. They, however, claim there is a solution to this issue. They can't judge right who deserves the award. You can lie to other people but not journalists. It would change if the panel of judges who choose what story or program deserves to be awarded were recruited to analyze and decide the winner in the category of print media, and the same number to also look into TV station and radio stations for story analysis. This would create balance since stories on radios, TVs would be given the same value as print media. I don't want to go in details of this, but it seems print media has been more favored than other media houses. For journalists, they need to ask different organs that include the civil society. Civil society includes advocates in education, health, the law, human rights. They are capable of judging and choosing what story advocated for the citizens, what story made a difference in a citizen's life. As for the organizers of this event, they refrained from explaining much on the journalists' concerns. Ignatius Kawagambe has a word for us. I don't know how to respond to that question, because it would be better if the panel of judges are asked instead. From several awards won, many were collected by TV stations and print media. This raises concerns why out of 32 radios in the country, only one managed to win an award for their program. Friday James, TV 10.
Best talk show of the year will go home with 2.5 million Rwandan francs.
Now, of course, that story brings us to our opinion question for the day, where we ask you, what do you think should be done to improve the media industry in Rwanda? I repeat, the question should be showing on your screen right about now. I repeat, what do you think should be done to improve the media industry in Rwanda? Feel free to send us your feedback through our social pages, our Facebook page being TV10 Space Rwanda and our Twitter page being at TV10 Rwanda, and we'll be sure to sample some of them through the rest of the news bulletin. Now, among the journalists who were awarded yesterday were two of our very own. Genevieve Ndaishimiye bagged the best talk show in Rwanda, and another one was Jerome Munyentwali, who bagged the best news coverage in the entire country. So I have the privilege of hosting right here, when we come back after the break, the award-winning journalist Jerome Munyentwali. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
Personally, I like to move it, you like to move it.
excluded from financial systems that is empowered. They're unplugged from the possibilities of being able to develop and grow.
Roughly 50% of the world's population is cut off from access to formal financial services. Being financially excluded today is almost like being locked out of citizenship in the 21st century.
It's not just about having a bank account and not having a bank account. It's about having financial tools that work.
People who don't have access to traditional financial services conduct their lives with cash. They pay in cash, they receive cash, and they have to manage that cash, and it is fundamentally risky and inconvenient.
If financial inclusion can lessen poverty, it can lessen vulnerability, then we just simply have a population who's going to be more productive.
Our ability to get people access to money, do transactions, receive payments is of critical importance to us. There are not many firms that have those capabilities. A company like Visa have already time-tested platforms. They understand the technology, they understand the mechanism and all the intricacies. So scaling up first will be very important.
We want to take that same scale, that same technology, that same know-how, and deliver it to consumers who don't traditionally have a relationship with the bank. If we can take those same benefits, we have an opportunity to drive real value.
We have to start with what is Visa. Visa has always been the best way to pay and be paid. What goes unsaid there is for everyone. We need to capitalize on mobile technology that will allow us to reach people who are underserved today.
Mobile is such a catalyst because if you look at the one asset that most consumers have, it's a mobile phone.
The concept that financial services were a preserve of the privileged few that were educated, mobile technology and electronic financial services are changing the world.
Everyone has the right to have access to payment devices and financial services that are secure and convenient and reliable, and that shouldn't be dependent upon where they live or how much they make or what they do.
And that's really a cause that governments and companies like Visa can champion. So if we can have financial inclusion for as many people as possible, then you have this dream being realized.
I look at my children and I see the sky is not the limit. It's really their imagination. And so there's no question in my mind. The current generation in Rwanda and in Africa has a very, very unique mission of being able to turn around this continent. And I think it's a privilege to be a part of that.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Now, before we left for the break, we had given you a report where the Media High Council and the Rwanda Governance Board partnered to award journalists with the most exemplary stories with awards and money. And among them, two of our journalists from TV10 were lucky enough to get awards and the money. One of them was Genevieve Ndaishimiye, whose story you'll see later. And the man right here in studio is Jerome Munyentwali, who got an award for the best news coverage in Rwanda. Jerome, I'm really proud to have you in studio. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you too.
All right. Now, the question I want to ask you, were you present yesterday at Serena when your name was being called for the award?
Actually, I was on the way going back home from work, but one from my colleagues called me and he told me that I've been announced to be won that trophy.
What was your reaction, your first reaction when you were told, not even the award, that you were told 2 million Rwandan francs? Yeah. What was your first reaction?
My first reaction, I was in the road. First reaction that I had, I look up the heaven and I praise the God who did this for me. I was not waiting for that.
We're really, of course, glory to God. And what's next for you in terms of journalism? Is the money, now that you're a millionaire, does that mean that you leave Kigali? What's next? in terms of journalism?
All right, I'm going to plan for this so that I can be the first plan. This is my beginning of my life. I have never earned that money in my life, but right now, as a journalist, I'm going to plan, sit down and think more so that I can plan for what I'm going to do with this money as a journalist.
All right, yeah, I wanted to ask you, how do you think you will use the money? I do not mind getting some meal.
Right now, I cannot tell you the true things because I have not yet sat and think deep. You know, I've been occupied by the work. So I have not yet have a time to sit down and think deep so that I can tell you the true answer right now.
All right, thank you very much, Jerome. At least it was short, but you gave us what we wanted to hear. That was, we're really proud of you, and we hope that you continue to make TV10 proud and to put TV10 on the map. Now, we are going for a short commercial break. During the break, you will see Genevieve Ndaishimiye. I had an interview with her earlier during the day. She was quite busy, so she could not make it to the interview. But Jerome, just take us out for the break.
Right now, let's take a commercial short break.
Let's look straight in the camera. Take us out for the break.
Right now, let's take a short break for commercial reasons. I'm Jerome Munyentwali, TV10.
Jerome Munyentwali. We'll be right back. So I'm here with Genevieve Ndaishimiye, one of the recipients of the Media High Council Awards from TV10, who got to win the Best Talk Show Award in Rwanda, straight from TV10. So it's a very big moment for me, myself, for Genevieve, and for everyone here at the studio. So we'd like to hear from Genevieve. What do you feel? How did you feel when you got the award?
I have a pleasure. I feel good. I'm proud of me. I'm proud of TV10. I'm proud of my show.
Do you think you're going to do more shows, or the money is enough? You're going to travel?
The money is not enough, but I feel in me I'm going to produce the other shows, a best show, who can be the first one in all the world.
Cheers. Very big ambitions for Genevieve. We are very proud. The show is called Amagarayachu. What time can we catch it on TV10?
On Monday at 7 p.m.
Okay, 7 p.m. Right, 7:30?
7:30 p.m.
7:30 p.m. Right, so every 7:30 you get to watch Amagarayachu, the award-winning show. It's not just Amagarayachu, it's Amagarayachu, the award-winning show. Thank you very much. That was Genevieve Ndaishimiye.
Thank you very much.
A health show, yes, talking about health issues and topical issues on health. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Really proud of two of our journalists, Genevieve Ndaishimiye and Jerome Munyentwali. We continue with our news now. Prisoners in different prisons located in the southern, slight error there. Prisoners in different prisons located in the southern province have, just a slight pardon for that. Prisoners in different prisons, rather located in the southern province, are requesting for legal aid in different cases they face. This claim was raised by prisoners this Thursday during an activity scheduled in line with the Legal Aid Week. Some of the prisoners said that the delay of their judicial files impacts on them and causes the problem of not benefiting from being taken to courts in time. According to those problems raised by prisoners and others in need of the legal aid, the chairman of the Legal Aid Forum, Mr. Andrews Kananga, told our reporter some of the assistance they provide to those prisoners.
So legally what we are doing to help prisoners is to, first of all, we are trying to provide lawyers. So not only in this week, but even after this week, we have a project that is going on until the next 2 years to provide legal assistance, to provide lawyers, to make sure that their files are complete. So our legal officers and paralegals are running up and down to make sure that those we have met, we get them proper documentation from court, from prosecution, so that they can be ready for their cases.
We cross borders now to the international scene. Yemeni state television has aired horrific images of an al-Qaeda-claimed assault on a defense ministry complex in Sana'a, showing the assailants executing civilians and medics in cold blood. The footage, taken from surveillance cameras, was aired on Yemen TV earlier this week and showed the attack and its aftermath. Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula has claimed the attack that took place on December 5th in broad daylight and killed 56 people. A preliminary report into the attack has said most of the attackers were Saudi.
Authorities in Yemen has aired surveillance video footage of an assault against the defense ministry. The footage shows a car packed with explosives detonated at the gate to the ministry. It shows heavily armed assailants in the corridors of the ministry shooting anyone they see. In another sequence, in a nearby hospital, an attacker is seen throwing a grenade at doctors and nurses. According to the authorities in Yemen, Al-Qaeda is responsible for these attacks, in which over 56 people were killed and 167 wounded.
Quite unfortunate news there from Yemen. We go now to a sports scene. Kenya have won the 2013 Sekafa Senior Challenge Cup after a 2-0 win over Sudan in the final at the Nyayo Stadium in Nairobi. Harambee Stars keeper Alan Wanga was the host nation's hero after he scored in each half to bring Kenya the regional trophy for the first time since 2002. That was the first penalty. It came yesterday on the day Kenya celebrated 50 years of independence from British rule. It was also the first piece of silverware for coach Adel Amrouche since he took over in February. Wanga, the FC Leopards forward, started his scoring mission against Sudan in the 35th minute when he nodded in a well-taken David Owino cross to give the Sudan goalkeeper Abdel Rahman Ali no chance. Sudan and the tournament's top scorer Ibrahim Salah continued to torment the Kenyan defense, but to no avail. Cheered on by the home fans, Wanga made it 2-0 in the 69th minute with a good ground shot. It has taken Kenya 30 years to win the Sekafa trophy on their home soil, a point Kenya's coach was well aware of. Now that story wraps up our bulletin, but earlier on we had asked you, in our opinion, question: what do you think should be done to improve the media industry in Rwanda? I repeat, what do you think should be done to improve the media industry in Rwanda? Well, we'll take a look at some of the comments that you sent us through our social media pages. Christopher Drake Mukisa says, freedom of press should be granted. That was from Mukisa. The next one is from Wimana Del Villa Pisco, who says, freedom, peace, security, right information, and expression. The other one is from Mukundene Uwineza Jean Bernard, who says the media in Rwanda should be improved when journalists have the quality and skills of journalism. Especially those who write in newspapers, even radio, TV, websites, they must study journalism and communication. Secondly, and here's a familiar one, the boss of media must pay the salary of the journalist. An angry man is a hungry man. Thanks. We look at one last one from Pekino Jones, who says, pay the journalists and informers their salary on time and improve schools of social media. I'm certain Jones meant media schools. Those were your comments regarding what should be done to improve the media industry in Rwanda. Thank you for your continued feedback in our daily opinion polls. Remember, you can participate daily through our social media pages, Facebook being TV10 Space Rwanda and Twitter being @TV10 Rwanda, and we'll be sure to sample them in our consecutive news bulletins. For now, however, we've come to the end of our English news, but first, a quick recap of what made the headlines. Ingabire Victoire Umuhoza finally sentenced to 15 years in prison. The last send-off, Rwandans come together for a final memorial service for the late Nelson Madiba Mandela. And a proud moment for TV10 as journalists Genevieve Ndaishimie and Jerome Munyentwali awarded by the Media High Council for outstanding work. Well, that's all we have for now. My name is George Ndurango, and on behalf of the entire factual and technical news team that made tonight's news possible, led by Director Fiona Mbabazi, do have yourselves a lovely evening, and remember to indulge safely this coming weekend.